So as you watched in this video, it's all about the body. So greeting and welcome to you. We are going to explore the theme of how nature can help us in dealing with emotional and mental health problem. And Somatofulness actually is body spirituality. It is deha moksha of the deha, of the body. It is freedom of the body and freedom through the body. A very simple scientific path. Primacy of the body, because body is the only living entity which we have. Our emotions and thoughts are merely recordings of the activities of the body which form pattern in our brain. And as we will discover during this session, that if we remain connected with the body, we cannot be mentally ill. It is an impossibility. And how? That is what I'm going to talk about. So what I will do, I will explore the theme. And after that, we will have question and answers. Any question or query which you have, which you want to express. And at the very end, we are going to do a short meditation, how to connect to the nature through our body. So first thing, and very important, that nature heals us physically, emotionally, and mentally. It's not a philosophy, it is not a belief, it's not an idea, but actually it is the result of extensive research studies done all over the world. And I will cite 3 studies done in 2009. So the first one is by Gregory Bateman in University of Washington, who said that contact with nature is associated with increase in happiness, well-being, positive social interaction, sense of meaning and purpose in life, as well as decreases in mental distress and illnesses. Number 2 study was, they found in children that children who live in more green spaces had a reduced risk of many psychiatric order later in life, including depression, mood disorder, schizophrenia, eating disorders, and addictions. And for those with the lowest level of green space exposure during childhood, the risk of developing mental illness was 55% higher than for those who grew up with abundant green space. And the last study, in experiment, they found that being exposed to natural environment improves working memory, cognitive flexibility, attention control, while exposure to urban environments is linked to attention deficits. Of course, I selected only 3, but there are hundreds of them. But what is the fundamental? What is the mechanism? How it happens? The core is, if we remain connected with our body. As I mentioned earlier, chances of developing emotional and mental illnesses is reduced to a great extent. Or even if we have mental illnesses, anxiety, depression, phobias, eating disorder, borderline personality, obsession, we can deal with them in a much better way. So again, it is the primacy of the body. Why? Because if I'm connected with the body, I'm connected with the whole world. And the core of mental illness is when I start living in my mind's patterns. So they almost become an independent entity. So I'm ruminating, I'm obsessing, I'm going through the same cycle of anxiety and depression. I'm disconnected from the body. And again, it's not a belief, it's not an idea, it's not a philosophy. Actually, this whole insight comes from a new branch of brain sciences called interoception. Interoception. A lot of studies are done, and I think interoception is going to be the part nearly all therapies for mental illnesses in future. And the credit goes to the research work by Antonio Damasio. And what interoception is? Interoception means when I'm able to feel my body most of this time. Its sensations, whatever is emerging from the body. Of course, from a spiritual point of view, it's nothing new, because if you really look into original teachings of Buddha, he called it mindfulness. That is the English translation. What is mindfulness? Mindfulness is when I remain aware of my body, my emotions, and my thoughts. Unfortunately, in modern mindfulness, we mainly concentrate on our emotions and thought. But his idea was remain connected to the body. That is why if you look at the Buddha's statue, he has such a beautiful full body, almost like a baby's body. That was the whole idea. Because emotions, thoughts, and feelings, they are the result of the body. Why emotions and thoughts are there? Because they protect our body. If I have fear, I withdraw from the danger, from a snake, from enemy. So I could protect this body. I'm angry. Why I'm angry? I see the danger. So anger can push something back to protect the body. Sadness. In sadness also same thing. Something shocking happened. I want to withdraw. I feel sad, so I could recover from it. Happiness. All those emotions, all those thoughts, they only serve body. But when they become almost independent, because we disconnect ourselves from the body, that is the invitation to all emotional, mental health problem, which is happening in our time in 21st century and part of the 20th century, because we are increasingly living in mental culture, digital culture, mobile, internet, Wi-Fi, computer, and gradually we are disconnected from the body and disconnected from the nature. Of course, I will come to the nature because that's the theme today we are exploring. So, but just to emphasize on the insight of interoception, new branch of brain sciences. Now, as I said, this idea is not new. So if we go into Ayurveda, insights from Ayurveda. 5,000 years old discipline, subject. What Ayurveda says? Ayurveda says that this body and the nature or the universe are made up of the same 5 elements. Those elements are earth, water, fire, air, and space. So if I'm disconnected from the body, I'm disconnected from the nature. If I'm disconnected from the nature, I'm disconnected from my body. So as we discovered, if I'm disconnected from the nature, I'm disconnected from the body, means now there is an increasing chance of emotional and mental health problem. So that is why connecting to the nature, connecting to the body. And once I'm rooted in my body, then those patterns in my brain cannot become almost like an independent entity. I will remain related to everything. And interoception says that if you are able to do that, chances of emotional and mental health problems are minimal. So that is the insight of Ayurveda. Now we come to chakras. What are the most important chakras? Because chakra belongs to Kundalini Yoga, which belongs to Tantra. So what are the most important 2 chakras? 2 chakras is the first and the second. Rest of the chakras are based on those 2 chakras. One is called Mooladhara, second is called Swadhisthana. Together they form the body. First one is also called root chakra because that is where we are rooted. So if upper chakras are not functioning properly, we will be okay. But if lower chakras, the root chakra and the second chakra are not in harmony, there is a problem. Rest of the chakras will be affected because these 2 chakras, they form physical body. They are the root of life, root of the existence. So if we are not rooted in our body and through the body, because body is in contact with nature, we are going to suffer from mental health illnesses. So those are the 2 most important chakras. Rest of the chakras are based on these 2. So first chakra is of matter and second chakra is of energy. What are emotions, which belongs to third chakra? Formation of energy. What are feelings, which belong to fourth chakra, heart chakra? Formation of energy. What is the constituent of the fifth chakra, which is intellect, thinking? Energy. So you can see that first and second chakra, rooting in the body. If it is not there, nothing is going to function properly. Now come to the science. So now you go to physics or biology. They will say that we have a star body. What that means? Our body is made up of the same elements as the stars, planets, and galaxies. Carbon, nitrogen, phosphorus, sulfur, oxygen, helium, and so on and so forth. This body contains the same element as the outer physical universe, and they are interconnected. So thousands of tons of star dust falls every year on Earth. We drink it, we breathe it in, we eat. It goes into our system. We cannot separate it. So if we are rooted in our body, then we will be connected with nature also. If we connect ourselves with nature, we will be rooted in the body because we cannot separate them. Of course, our mind separated. And that process starts around the age of 2 to 3 years. When a child is 2 to 3 years old, disconnection from the body starts. Before 2 years, child is the part of biological universe. And why it happens at the age of 2 to 3 years? Because child becomes self-conscious. And by becoming self-conscious, child is becoming the part of a society or culture. The culture we call supranatural. It is an extension of nature, but it is far removed from nature. So I will give you one example. Money is so important in any culture. But if you really look into the nature, money is not at all important. It is just another piece of paper. So if your dog is there and dog is hungry and you put $1 million in front of the dog versus a small amount of food, what do you think dog will prefer? Food rather than $1 million. So that separation starts around the age of 2 to 3 years. And just to tell you a fact, and you may not agree with me, that all of us are not mentally healthy. We are not mentally sick, but we are not mentally healthy. But because most of us are not mentally healthy, we think this is the normal state. But if you really look into the life, the way we live, full of insecurity, anxiety, stress, restless, wandering, so few moments of peace, of joy, of bliss, of creativity. You can really count them. But actually, our nature is, as Rishi said, Satchit Anand. That is actually nothing extraordinary. This is full emotional and mental health. But we don't live. That is why J. Krishnamurti, great J. Krishnamurti, said it so beautifully. To adjust to a sick society is not a measure of health. Because so many people are not healthy and we think it is normal, we adjust to it and we think it is normal. It is not. But what happens? We live in unhealthy state and somehow we continue to function. But problem comes when there is a stress. So for example, in pandemic, what happened? It was a very long stress. So whatever illness was there, it just came on the surface because that lid of normalcy was shattered. But it was already there. And why it was shattered? Because we lived more and more in a digital world, because we were locked. We were not able to move. We were not able to connect. So our time was spent within the four walls of our house, computers, mobiles, internet, and this news, constant news of disaster. And that is why rapidly increasing mental illness. And actually it is happening to our young population. If you really go into the scientific studies of last 20 years, in children and adult, the emotional and mental health problems are increasing rapidly. Why? We are getting disconnected from the body. Why disconnected from the body? Because we are also disconnected from the nature. It's a fact of our world now. So if you ask me, what are the two core problems humanity is facing? Number one is mental health problem, and number two is nature's destruction. They go hand in hand. So if you reduce all other problems of war, violence, economic instability, these are the two core problems, and they feed on each other. Because if I'm not mentally feeling well, if I'm not experiencing well-being, what I will do? I will seek pleasure. I will go to faraway places to be with nature. But it is pure pleasure movement because I don't care about nature. So I will travel 13,000 kilometers, 7,000 kilometers to see a forest, a lake, or ocean. And meanwhile, when I'm traveling, if you look down, I'm spilling toxic fumes in that journey of 7,000 or 14,000 kilometers. When I go there, I want to reach right to the spot. So I will say there should be a helipad, there should be a pavement, there should be a road. So no need for me to walk 10 kilometers. It is happening in India to our pilgrim places, sacred places. We want to plump ourselves right there. Then what I will demand? A luxurious accommodation, because I want all those comforts, air conditioning, heating, large space. And then I want alcohol, international food for the maximum pleasure. And then I want to pack in the maximum in minimum time. Lot of excursions, and I'm not worried what is happening around me. So the net effect of it is nature destruction for that temporary pleasure. Why? Because if I'm not feeling well inside, I want more and more pleasure. Because if I don't seek pleasure, I will feel anxious or depressed. It's a fact of our life. So people post where they traveled, pictures of most beautiful places. Then there is another trend, spiritual retreats in pristine forest, untouched forest. Now, spiritual retreat in those forests, what it will do? It will disturb all flora and fauna. It is all the name of this spirituality because we are not well, not realizing actually what we call this sacredness, this pilgrimage is all inside me. That was the whole idea of pilgrimage in the past. So how we did the pilgrimage in the past? We walked, sometimes for hundreds of kilometers. Why we walked? Because slowly, we were leaving our mind behind. Because the challenge of the pilgrimage was such, because all pilgrim places were built in faraway places, secluded places, difficult places. So by the time I reached there, what I was left with my body, with my energy. All my past slowly withered away in those moments. First and second chakra were functioning well. I was rooted in the body. That is why we worship nature. So in Aboriginal Indian spirituality, in India, we worship people, banyan, tulsi, cow, animal, stone, rocks, rivers, sun, moon, star, practically everything. Why we worshipped? Because we wanted to be connected with nature. Connection with nature means connected to my body. Connected to my body means minimal impact of emotional and mental health problems. Means I'm feeling good inside me. If I'm feeling good inside me, I won't go into the world and consume what we call retail therapy, from shopping to travel. It is a result of the thing. And to tell you the fact, we have the best cocaine, alcohol, cannabis, mescaline, LSD, DMT in this brain and body. It is the largest pharmacy. It is a full tavern, madhushala, just in this brain. If you ask a neuroscientist how cocaine works, they will tell you because you have a cocaine in your mind. How cannabis, marijuana works, because every cell of your body actually has cannabis. You activate it, all pleasure will come from within. That is the whole idea. Connecting with nature and activating this chemist shop, this pharmacy, this tavern. And you will be in that bliss state because you are connected with body. And Vedic rishis called it Soma, Somras. Somras is taken by the gods and goddesses, because in those moments you are the god and the goddess. And this is not something, again, philosophical a belief. It is the essence of our body. And Shri Aurobindo, when he was exploring Vedas, first time he pointed out, because a lot of people think Soma is a herb which is found in Himalayas, it is outside. He said, no, it is the property of our body. Because Shri Aurobindo's philosophy was focused on body. So I will summarize it here again so that we don't miss any point. That if we are rooted in our body, we cannot be mentally ill. All mental illnesses are the result of disconnection from the body. Because then we are lost in these patterns of our mind, which give rise to a range of emotional and mental health problems. And one of the best ways to connect to the body is through nature. Because nature and body are made up of same stuff. They are not separate. Same element, same constituent. So going in nature and touching the nature, experiencing the nature, actually bring us back to the body. It activates life energy in us. Because nature is nothing else but living energy. And unless I have that energy in my body, I cannot tackle with the mental and emotional health problem except by taking drugs and medicine. But best way to treat, to reduce, to prevent is to connect to the nature. When you feel water, when you touch a tree, when the wind in a forest caresses your face, there is a special types of nerves stimulated in your skin called C fiber. C fiber is a soft touch. And what it does, it integrates your body and mind. Disconnection disappears. Because there are two types of touch. One touch is very firm touch. When you are holding somebody's hand very tightly, it's not. It is the touch when we do with each other when we are in love. So when I touch my baby, my grandchild, there is a very gentle touch. It's a very different kind of touch in comparison when I am holding hand firmly. That is what nature does. Nature will touch us. And that touch stimulates C fibers. Stimulation goes into the central part of the brain where body and our mind, they meet. So that is why the nature. But nature doesn't mean you have to travel far. Try to find around you. So you could do every day. I may make 5 trips in a year to some faraway place and rest of the time, I don't do anything. It is not going to benefit anyone. Now, how this nature works, I told one mechanism. Second mechanism I will explain is it is because of the stress reduction. Ultimately, if you come to any problem of human beings in 21st century, 90% of them are related to high stress. 100 years ago, stress was not playing such an important role. 100 years ago, most of our health problems were not mental, they were physical. Infections. But in later part of the 20th century and 21st century, most of our problem are lifestyle problem, and the core of the lifestyle problem is stress. High blood pressure, diabetes, obesity, anxiety, depression, allergies, autoimmune diseases, you name, cancers, strokes, heart problem, 90% are because of the lifestyle. And in that lifestyle, we are disconnected from the nature, and that creates stress. And the problem with the stress is it affects all systems of the body, physical as well as mental. Because in stress, we have release of adrenaline and steroids in the body. For few days, for few weeks, body can tolerate that. But if it persists for months, it will ultimately affect our brain. Actually, there is a thinning of the brain. There is a thinning of the memory organ in the brain called hippocampus. Thinning of the brain will contribute into dementia also, Alzheimer also. And that is again the stress part. So if it comes to one core thing, and that is stress. And stress is dealt by sympathetic nervous system. By going into nature, you are activating parasympathetic nervous system. And in parasympathetic nervous system is a nerve called vagus nerve. And nowadays there is a whole part of neurobiology which is dealing with vagus nerve. Vagus nerve means I'm connected. Not only connected with my body, I'm connected to the nature also. So again, to affirm, if I'm rooted in my body, I cannot suffer from mental and emotional health problems, or they will be minimized. I will deal with them. And one of the best ways to connect to the body is to connect to the nature. Same stuff. What are the ways? Ancient ways of pilgrimage, going to the nature, worshipping the nature, and also exploring our body, which is the theme of Somatofulness. Dehe moksha, freedom of the body, freedom through the body. It is body spirituality. So at this point, I will stop. And if you have any questions, because I think I said enough, then I will go in more detail. So any question?
Friends, please unmute yourself. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. It's always wonderful to do this energy exchange by asking more and more questions.
That's right. So the question came, I can see, what are the ways to activate the vagus nerve? So as I mentioned, vagus nerve is the part of the parasympathetic system, and vagus nerve is the one which supplies to heart, lungs, liver, spleen, intestine, all the major organs where the energy generates. So vagus is the nerve also which we call rest and digest. So any activity which is relaxing you will activate the vagus nerve. Any activity. But of course, I'm going to go into specific practices. So if you are taking some time off and talking to your nears and dears, that will activate vagus nerve. If you are having a walk in a forest, that will activate vagus nerve. If you are taking a slow and gentle shower relaxingly, that will activate vagus nerve. If you are sleeping well, that will activate vagus nerve. If you are not eating in a hurry, that will activate vagus nerve. If you are playing with your children, that will activate vagus nerve. So anything which you are doing slowly without rushing activates vagus nerve. But now come to the specific. Yoga or Tai Chi. Any body movement which is not in hurry and which is done for its own sake. Not that I want to show someone, because once I want to show something to someone, I become self-conscious, and that will create anxiety. Because I want other people to appreciate me. So yoga, Tai Chi, slow body movement is number one. Number two, breathing. Breathing is one of the most effective ways. Slow and deep breathing. Not the first one, not the Kapal Bhati, not the Bhastrika, because that is to activate sympathetic nervous system opposite. So if I'm doing slow and deep abdominal breathing or baby breathing, alternate nostril breathing, that will activate my vagus nerve. Of course, if I'm doing slow and gentle chanting, that will activate vagus nerve also. If I'm doing meditation, that will activate also. If I'm listening to the music, beautiful music, bhajan, Indian classical music, that will activate vagus nerve. But the most effective way is, again, walk through the nature, gentle yoga, tai chi, or any body movement, and breathing, because these are physical activity. So even if your mind is distracted, you will get the benefit. So I hope I responded to that question, but if there is anything remain, please. Of course, nowadays what they are doing, they are putting electrodes in vagus nerve to stimulate, activate. So the question is, how would you explain anger? Anger is beautiful emotion. All your religious teacher, your religion taught you the opposite. Anger is bad. If anger was bad, why nature built in us? You must understand there are 6 biological emotions with which a baby is born. And those 6 biological emotions are fear, anger, happiness, sadness, disgust, surprise. Meanwhile, guilt, jealousy, pride, they are social emotion. They are not biological emotion. That is why these biological emotions are present in animals also. Anger is beautiful if it is not accumulated. What is the function of anger? Anger means I am threatened, injustice is done to me. So I have to express that frustration. You know, Gandhi's non-violent movement, which freed India, why it came up? Because he was angry. So was Nelson Mandela. So was Martin Luther King. So was Abraham Lincoln. If you look or feminist revolution, if you look into the history of all revolutions, they were induced by anger, but when anger was channelized in right direction. Anger, when it is accumulated in me, it will destroy myself and it will destroy others. So when you look at the United States, somebody is taking the gun and firing, or the war which is going on. It is the result of accumulated anger, either individually or collectively. So anger is the most is a beautiful emotion if it is expressed, channelized, become creative. Of course, last part of the yoga or anything is transcend. So a point will come when we will transcend anger. But before we transcend, we can use anger for some beautiful purpose, to change, to reform, to revolutionize. There was a question about schizophrenia. I missed one more question because there was one before that.
Yes, there is. It's by how can we help someone with suicidal thoughts in the perspective of nature?
That's right. As I mentioned, if you really look into the mind of a person who is committing suicide, or not, sort of thinking to commit suicide, and even once I thought in my life, I think a lot of people, they feel like committing suicide in one or other point of their life, because when despair, sorrow, burden becomes so much, this idea flickers in the mind. I was working in the mountains, and I also felt the same way. And later on, when I Of course, I didn't commit, so I'm here. And, and then I went into this whole suicidal mode of thinking. What happened to me? I was completely disconnected from the rest of the world. So I was totally locked in the prison of my thoughts and emotions. And because I was completely disconnected, I was not thinking of any exit, any resolution, any solution. And that is what happens. I mean, one of my very dear friend committed suicide. It was the same. He was in love. Love didn't materialize. He was completely locked in his mind, and ultimately he killed himself. Why I'm locked? Because I'm disconnected from my body again. Because if I'm connected to the body, I will connect it to the world. Once I'm connected to the world, I cannot commit it. I cannot commit suicide. That is where nature helps in preventing that. Somehow, if we are able to connect anyone with their body, and there are so many methods I describe, and with that connecting to the nature, slowly this person may find an exit, a way to resolve and slowly come back. I have literally, I think must be 50 to 60 people who were thinking of that, but then they decided not to because they got connected to the world again. And world means nature also. Again, same thing, question I was asked about schizophrenia, mechanism is the same. In milder illnesses, mental illnesses, our disconnection from the body is only partial. So in anxiety, in mild to moderate depression, in eating disorder, in OCD, in borderline personality, in phobias, we are disconnected from the body, but it is partial. But in psychosis, psychosis means bipolar disorders, which are called manic depressive psychosis, it's schizophrenia, paranoia, we are completely disconnected from the body. That is why neglect of the body is almost complete. And actually, one of the study I was reading, they did it in cases of schizophrenia, that once you are able to connect schizophrenic with more normal life, and you know, there was a big study done by WHO, I think it was in Punjab, about schizophrenic, that people of those villages, they didn't isolate schizophrenic patient from rest of the society, which happens in the West. So they remain connected to everything. Even they got married, they had children, they have ordinary work. And they found those people were in need of minimal drugs. Of course, they had problem, but they lived a very useful life. So that's the beauty. So this study, I think, was done 25 or 30 years ago. Because the way psychiatry deal with schizophrenia, to almost isolate them and give lot of drugs, rather than they are becoming the part of a ordinary society and nature. Any other comment, thought, or question? What is loneliness? Beautiful question. Loneliness is the experience of missing myself. Loneliness is the experience of missing myself. My life is cluttered with thousands of people. But what is absent is me. When I'm able to connect with my own body, emotions, and thoughts and feeling, I'm there. I cannot feel lonely because my being is filled with my own self. Now I'm filled with my children, with my parents, with my relatives, with my friend, with my gurus, with my scriptures, all outside. And there is so little space left for myself. And what is that myself is? My body, my own emotions, my own personality, my own innate nature. So what happens? Somebody dies, somebody leaves me. I feel lonely. I'm living in the city of 10 million people, still I feel lonely. I mean, that is quite a paradox because in the midst of everything, I'm not there. If I'm there, this is called the state of aloneness. So even if there will be 4 people in my life, I won't feel lonely. So loneliness is the experience of missing myself. That is why in spirituality we call self-realization, self-actualization, self. And what is that self? Is my mind and body. So much energy in it. It will just fill me. It will vibrate my whole being. There won't be any space for emptiness in it. That is what loneliness is. How can we find our true purpose? Again, a beautiful question. You know, we came from nature, and nature gave us a meaning and purpose at the time of birth as a blueprint. We are born with our original unique nature or personality, which in Ayurveda we call doshas. Blueprint is already there. So to discover my personality and align my life with my innate nature or personality, that is where the meaning is, the purpose is. That is what we call destiny also. It is embedded in each cell of our body, in each fiber of our being. But you know what happens? After the age of 2 to 3 years, this innate nature is overshadowed by our family, our culture, our society, our religion. They demand a child to behave in a particular way. Education is not decided by the child, decided by the parents, caretakers. Job, marriage, the way you live, it is not decided by a child. So an adult becomes merely a cog in the wheel of this massive movement of culture. what was our true purpose and meaning in life is lost. But it is always alive. It is always alive. We can access it anytime we want. It is inside us. And how to start? Start by understanding my innate nature, personality, or dosha. How I can do that? Number one, I can start observing myself, feeling myself. And what I will notice when I do certain things, they give me joy, creativity. And you know, this state in science, what it is called? Flow, state of flow. When I'm aligned with my nature, with my personality, with my purpose, with my meaning, we experience flow. Flow means focus, joy, energy, creativity, relaxation simultaneously. That is the hint that, yeah, so we have to follow that. Of course, the second way is by a questionnaire. We, in all our programs, that is the core exercise which we do. Practices and personality. And start slowly adjusting my sleep. I'm a wind personality. I used to get up at 6:30, 7 o'clock because society told, okay, you have to start your work at 8 or 9. Once I discovered, I said, I'm not going to do that. Even in teaching in McMaster University, I refused to start my classes at 8. I said, I'm available at 10. Changed everything. Food, exercise, relationship. Because those are the, so sleep, food, exercise, work, relationship, house, clothes, everything. And slowly, 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 slowly. Yes, that is how slowly we find the meaning. Of course, once you accumulate energy, because if you are in alignment with your personality, you will gain a lot of energy. You will be very vibrant. Once you are vibrant with that energy, you will go even deeper. And you know, Patanjali, what he called it? Tapas. Most people don't understand the meaning of tapas. Actually, in Patanjali's most important limb out of 8 limbs is niyama, niyam. The most important, because in niyam, he put the shortcut to samadhi. He called it kriya yoga. Yoga within the yoga. Kriya yoga is the least understood part of Patanjali's yoga. And what he called kriya yoga, 3. Number 1 is swadhyay, self-study. What is self-study? Understanding my personality, my dosha, because Sankhya gave 2 big systems, Ayurveda and Yoga. And he integrated Ayurveda in such a beautiful way. Swadhyay, study yourself, who you are, your inner nature with which you are born. If you are alignment with that, what will happen? Tapas. Tapas means heat. Heat doesn't mean that I'll be feverish. I will be running 104 degree temperature if I'm following the Patanjali's yoga. Heat means lot of energy will be released. Because that heat, that energy called passion, exuberance, earnest longing. That is really the meaning of tapas. So if I'm aligned with myself, I will be in tapas. And once I'm in tapas, I will break all my past patterns, sick patterns. I will be released from my past, my trauma. And what will happen? I will access something grand. And that is what he called Ishwar Pranidhan. Surrender to Ishwar. Surrender doesn't happen that I'm contemplating, oh, I'm surrendering to Ishwar. Surrender happens when all my past limitations, my prison in which I was living is completely shattered. I'm released into this vastness of the universe. Because Ishvara is the Lord of the universe. That is how it is described by Patanjali. So that is how in yoga also niyama, the second, and in Kriya Yoga, yoga of action. That is the literal meaning of Kriya Yoga. And it starts with Swadhyay. That is how we find meaning of our life. So I think I will stop here. It will be a good idea to do a very simple meditative exercise to connect to the nature. So of course you connect to the nature when you go outside, but you connect to the nature when even you are sitting inside your home. Thanks, Kirtika. So in order to do a very simple, it is the meditation upon elements, 5 elements of nature, 5 elements which constitute our body and mind. So please sit wherever you are very comfortably with closed eyes. Eyes are softly closed. Shoulders are relaxed. Your breathing is easy and normal. And your focus is on the body, feeling the sensations in the body. And now we are going to feel the first element of earth in our body, physically and mentally. Earth element, feeling your skull, feeling your bones of the arm, of the wrist, feeling your backbone, your knees, and bones in the feet. Earth element, solidity. Feeling your skin, your flesh and muscles. Earth element gives you structure. Now, mentally feeling the earth element, and you felt many times when you were calm. Calmness is earth. Confidence connectedness to others. So calmness, confidence, and connectedness. Earth in the mind. Now feeling the earth in nature. Ground. Sand. Feeling of sand, earth. Rocks. Wood and metal. Trunk of a tree. Earth, element in nature. Connecting them. Element of water. Water, fluidity, flexibility within you, in your body. Tears, sweat, urine, saliva, gastric juices, blood. There is a full ocean within us. And also flexibility and fluidity of our mind. We adapt, we accommodate, we adjust. Element of water. Water outside in nature. Dewdrops in the morning, shimmering under the sun. Rains on the parched earth. A stream of water, river, ocean. A lake, hot water spring, coming out of the earth, connecting them to the water element in the body. Element of fire. In the body, warmth inside the body. Fire or Agni in our stomach, hunger. Experience of fever. Fire of calm means sex. Fire for transformation, new life. When food is consumed in the Agni of the stomach, health is born, body is renewed, and the fire of sex brings new life in the world. Then fire in our emotions and thoughts, tapas, passion, exuberance, enthusiasm. Without passion and exuberance, enthusiasm, we cannot achieve or transform anything. Fire outside in nature, sun. Fire itself. And the experience of a hot spring, hot sand, hot rock. Connecting both fires inside and outside. Element of wind inside, or rather element of air, movement. Moving our body, muscles, movement of our lungs, intestines, heart beating, blinking, movement of the blood, movement of the sensations in the nervous system, movement of our thoughts with incredible speed, movement of our emotions. Air outside in nature, feeling of breeze on our body or face, wind gust shaking the trees and the plants, a thunderstorm downing the trees, a hurricane, element of air in nature, movement of the clouds, connecting the inner air element with the outer movement. Element of space within us, space in our skull, in our chest, space in our lungs, in our heart, space in our belly, space in our stomach, intestines, space in our blood vessels, space in our bones and joints, space in each cell of the body. And a space in our mind where thoughts, emotions, and feelings float. Vast space of mind. And we become creative, combining various thoughts, feelings, and emotions. And a space outside in nature, space in our home, in our home temple. Space in a forest. space which we observe as we are flying in a plane. Space is the container of all other elements. Without a space, nothing can be defined or perceived. That is why in ultimate realization, we go beyond space. Pure consciousness. All perceptions come to zero. Connecting the space within us to the space outside. Five elements: earth, solidity, structure; water, fluidity; fire, transformation; air, movement; space, container. This body and mind and whole of the universe are one and the same. Pind mein Brahmand. My body contains the whole universe. So said the sages. Feel your body for a moment. And whenever you feel, please open your eyes slowly. So that was in your sacred space in meditation. You are not able to go out in nature. You can connect to it because you have all the experiences embedded in you. And ultimate is one day, hopefully, your body will expand in feelings and the boundary will be broken between this body and the nature. Because a special part of the brain which defines mentally the boundary of the body, it is called parietal lobe, is here. And once that parietal lobe is hypoactive, that is where we break the boundary of the body in our feelings. This beautiful research was done by Andrew Newberg 15 years ago. Thanks, Lema. Any last question? Any thought? Anything which was not understood? Thank you, Deepika. Right, so if there is no other question, I will hand over back to you to conclude.